As we're talking about recruiting, though, Cedric, makes me think about signing day we had earlier this week, which obviously the February one used to be huge. Everybody signed in February. Now it's just a trickle. But down in your neck of the woods, Texas gets a huge get on signing day, a late one that one of the best players in the country, right?
Yeah, Alfred Collins is a big defensive lineman, 6'5", 285, and he's from down here, Cedar Creek, and he had his pick of where he wanted to go, and the Texas Longhorns did a great job of vetting him and recruiting him. He's here, and as they move to a 4-3 from a 3-4 with their new defensive coordinator, Chris Ash, it's going to be really interesting to see if he's one of those guys, and I believe he is, who will step in and play right away. They need fresh bodies up front. They were gashed at times in the middle of that line, and he's an athlete with long arms and great feet. And once he gets on a nutrition program and gets some grown man weight on him, he's going to be a really good football player. Tom Herman, that's another top 10, top 12 class for him. And when you continue to bring in these good players, the expectations are going to go up. So this is the latest, a really good class, not a huge class, but a really good class. Some talent. Bijan Robinson, a running back, is going to come in and compete for playing time. So I think that the pressure that was already there is going to be ramped up a little bit more, especially after you followed up a 10-4 with an 8-5. So like it or not, in Austin, they think championships, even though they've only won 4 in 120 years, but they believe that they should be in it every year. And this is a step in the right direction. We'll see if Tom delivers.
Well, and, it's interesting. I think, from my perspective, that run of years under Mac Brown are the ones that I'm thinking of, Cedric. And Texas, even though obviously people know about Vince Young and Cedric Benson and, all the different offensive players, those are the guys that, you sort of think about when those years come to mind. But it was really on the defensive side that Texas always had NFL caliber type of players. That was where you might not have known the names as well. I know down in your neck of the woods, Cedric, everybody knows the names, but nationally around the Big 12, you might not have been able to pick those guys, out of a group, but those were the guys that were really fantastic on that defensive side, and then professionally, just scores and scores of those guys. So a guy like Alfred Collins is the type of name, and I know that people are competing against the Longhorns in the Big 12, but really when it comes to the Big 12 and its strength, they need Texas. Big 12 needs Texas to be really good. And Cedric, it seems like to me that you started to see under Tom Herman a swing back towards having, the Caden Stearns and those sorts of guys that are the difference makers, the future NFL guys on the defensive side. But that's where when you look at those really good years, they had those guys, not 1 or 2, but 7, 8, 9 on the defense at any given time. That seems like to me when Texas has really been great, that's where they were best.
Totally agree. And when they won the championship in 2005, all 4 of their secondary guys, Michael Huff, Aaron Ross, Cedric Griffin, Terrell Brown, they all ended up in the NFL, Jen. Brian Arakpo, who was just retired after 12 years in the NFL, multiple Pro Bowls, was the 3rd-string defensive end behind Brian Robinson and Tim Crowder. The year before, they had Derek Johnson, who won the Nagurski and the Butkus Award. So they've always had good defensive players when they were great. And when they've fallen off, they weren't so good on defense. Charlie Strong, 3 seasons, and 2 of those seasons were statistically the worst in school history. Departed defensive coordinator Todd Orlando from this past season, the 3rd worst defense in school history. So we know about the Jamal Charleses and the Vince Youngs, players of that ilk. But glory days in Texas, like you said, Jen, were all about the defense. And they won't get back to where they want to be until they start dominating on that side of the ball again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Alfred Collins is the name we're talking about. Maybe next fall. Maybe it won't be that long before we're talking about him. But I know people around the Big 12 want to beat Texas, but they also understand Texas being good is very important to this league. All right, it's February. We're talking football. We'll probably keep talking football, even though the games have stopped. So you want to come back to the Writer's Block next week and see what we got up our sleeve then. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.